We are rolling with being flexible straight out of the last one because as I hit record, Gabby's saying, "What? Wait, what are we talking about?" So welcome. This is episode 93, and Brett has poised us on the brink of a drop, potentially into an abyss here, which is what song would play when you entered a room and why. So I think this could be deeply revealing, in a perhaps Freudian respect. Who's got anything? I mean, I'm quite a fan of like life songs. I will say to people, "What's your life song?" And there's that song that kind of maybe encapsulates a period of your life, or a battle that you went through that you feel you've conquered, or something like that. I haven't really thought about a theme tune, but just to get the ball rolling, I'm going to go with the Foo Fighters' Walk, because learning to walk again. Da, 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 da. So there you go. That's my offering for now. I reserve the right to change as the conversation goes.
This is really hard, and I'm finding myself feeling really annoyed that I have to only pick one song because, life. There's a bunch of different songs that I could say should play when I walk into a room, depending on my mood and depending on what it is that I'm feeling at the moment. So to pick one song is really hard. But what came to me first, the second you posed the question, Brett, I'm like, what song? I feel like I keep leaning towards My Way by Frank Sinatra. I'm like, yeah, that feels right at the moment. But I feel like there's multiple.
It's my way.
There's people often assign ringtones like to their other halves and stuff, don't they? So I mean that that tells a lot. One of my friends has like the Imperial March from Star Wars, whenever the Emperor appears, for his partner. So if his phone goes, because it's like, oh yes, the evil overseer is on the phone. So because you're the only couple here, Brett and Erica, do you have an assigned ringtone for one another?
I used to, since we changed phones, I haven't assigned it again, but I definitely used to have one, and it's the song by Tesla, the group Tesla, called What You Give is the name of that.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Brett.
Sure. Wait. Full disclosure, and this is out of pocket and totally like I'm gonna who knows what, but this is like
here we go.
When we first met, there was a song out there. Now that I'm even saying this out loud, but my phone would ring and people would see and whatever, and I don't remember who sang it, but it was I Touch Myself. Well, when I think about you, I like that song. I don't remember who sang that song, but that was like almost 20 years ago. But recently it was Tesla. That's What You Give.
I mean, I thought for a minute you were going to say it was the Chef and Chocolate Salty Balls, but Gabby, what would be your song, or do you have an assigned ringtone for a certain person? With a double eyebrow waggle.
I've only got one tone set on my phone, and that is for the eldership group of ecology, and it's frogs. Every time we hear frogs, it means that there's an eldership, and that's the one time I go on my phone when it buzzes. Any other buzzes I ignore, but not that one. And sometimes it goes off in school. When I'm in school, I go, sorry class, I've got a frog in my pocket. And they all go, what? Because they're all a bit naive. Really? You got a frog? Yeah. I sometimes it just makes noises. They believe me. It is bizarre.
I feel honored that we are part of the one notification you actually pay attention to. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you don't have a song like off.
No, honestly, nothing came to my mind, and I'm like you. There depends on the day, on the mood, where I'm at, what's happening. I'm actually refusing to be defined by one song. That's my rebellious side coming out here. And no, I have same tone for everything. I just have different tones for different options. Like a text is a different tone than a messenger, for example, but not per person. So yeah, sorry, I can't give you anything, and it makes me think now. What song would you assign to me? What would we assign to each other? Because I
That's
find
fun.
it far more intriguing than
That
what
is
I
fun.
would give myself.
Yeah, that's a totally fun game. And what I'm thinking is, how much more fun would life be sometimes if people came with songs attached, so that they just walked into a room and had a song playing about how their mood was or what they were feeling in that moment, so that you were like, okay, I get it. I get it, you know? Like, I think that would be fun. But that's a fun game. What songs would we attach to each other? I need time to think about this. I can't do this on the spot.
Actually, it brings something else up, because when we go through life, we always think about ourselves and me and what I want and blah blah blah. But how often do we actually stop and think about, I wonder how other people perceive me? How do they see me?
I think about that all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I wonder. There's a difference, though. Like, I wonder how people perceive me based on things I say or whatever. But I don't get stuck in it and worry about what they're thinking, right? Like, there's a difference for me there in that. Yeah, I wonder how I'm perceived. That's why games like that, like getting assigned, a book title or like a character in a show. This is who you would be if we were all, in Friends, like the characters in Friends. Who would we all be? I like those kind of games because it speaks to what people
Joey,
think.
Obviously. How are you doing? I would have been grateful when she shaved her head. On the subject of perception.
Wait a minute. Gary was going to say something just now.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going back a step about what signs we would assign to other people. I don't know whether everybody remembers Ian Jury and the Blockheads. And I just feel for Erica, the song would be fucking Ada. And the last few minutes is the whole band just singing fucking Ada. And I just think that'd be great.
Now I have to hear it. I just looked it up. I'm going to add it to my list on Spotify and try to feel into it.
It's a
great.
We'll
go one better. We will put the share the link from YouTube in the comments of this, and parental advisory. Listen to it with headphones or on your own. On the perception question, I do wonder quite frequently how people perceive me, and I'm frequently, well, not that frequently, people don't often come up to me and say, this is what I think of you, Alec. Not anymore. They used to do that a lot, normally with a clenched fist. But I am frequently surprised by the way I'm apparently perceived by other people. So if they came up to me and handed me a 7-inch vinyl, for which many of our subscribers are going, what the hell is that? A record, equally, what the hell is that? Something that used to play music, I would probably be quite, oh, that's helpful, thank you.
So Gabby, you brought up the question, so I'm wondering, do you not sit and wonder that sometimes?
Well, there's a difference, right? I think all of us think about how we are judged about by other people. but that's not how we are perceived by other people. So we all worry about, because I do a lot of communication skills training and public speaking. So everybody is thinking about, oh, how do I come across? Do they find me sexy? Do they find me this? Do they find me that? But it's in context of being judged or being liked or kind of some evaluation. But do we ever really think about, well, how do I come across when I talk? How do I come across on a more neutral way, if that makes sense? So how do I really come across as a person? How do people really see me outside judgment, or am I being liked, or this evaluation type of thinking?
I'm wondering for our listeners and for us, but mostly for whoever's listening to us, like if we can break down if we see a difference between judgment and perception, right? So if I have a perception of you, how is that different from a judgment? So I'm posing this to anybody who wants to answer this question, because I have a thing with judgment in and of itself, right? Like judgment is always, we're told and we hear and we aspire to not be judgmental people. But for me, I don't know how to discern without judgment. Like it all works together for me. So honestly, I want to know what's the difference.
For me, it's coming from the point, how open am I to hear what I'm going to hear? Or do I just act and try to find out what people think about me to be more liked? So, or can I sit there honestly with a friend and just take in what they say about me, even the things I might don't like, and just evaluate myself on that without getting this defensive, or without feeling hurt, or without feeling, kind of maybe resentment even that somebody said something.
So that's your angle to it, the person that's
Yeah.
receiving the perception or whatever. I'm curious on the other side of it, right? The people outside of us. When we say, if you're in like if Brett and I are having a conversation and I say something and he says something and I say, well, that's your perception of it. For me, I could easily just say that's your judgment of it. But I feel like we lean towards perception is a nicer way of saying judgment. I don't know what the real difference is between perception and judgment.
For me, the difference is when I judge somebody, I don't seek to understand them. I just judge them. That's me, my opinion about you. That's my judgment. If I perceive somebody, that's my experience of the person. And if I'm the person receiving it, I have to be open to the point that if they receive me this way, then there's probably something in my personality, something in my behavior, something how I talk that makes them perceive me this way. So they're not judging me. That's how they perceive me. And sometimes this is really hard to actually understand, because we all have an image of ourselves and how we want to be. And that image we think we are might not in reality really come across to other people like I see myself. So to be open to really hear how people perceive me is a very, very different matter from judging.
I feel that judgment is opinion in the absence of evidence. So you're going back to when we were talking about political correctness and those sorts of things. Blanket generalization of, say, the migration issue that came up then. This is my opinion, no evidence to back it up. That's a judgment. And then weeks down the road, I meet a Ukrainian refugee and hear a story, and I'm like, that's horrifying. And suddenly I've got a perception, because I'm learning something, I'm finding some kind of understanding about what goes with the thing. So it's yes, it's still potentially flawed because, perception is not fact, but you do have something that you're basing this observation on. So that would be the sort of criteria for me. Opinion without evidence, that's a judgment, and I'm just making boatloads of assumptions based on very limited kind of information. I perceive Gabby as reliable, expert in communication, funny, engaging, someone that I can trust and who I would have as a friend. So that's my perception. If I'd have written her off as a German comedian, can't possibly be funny, when it first came up, and I use that because she used to say that herself on stage, that would just be the opinion. I've never spoken to her. I don't know if she's funny or not, but I'm making a judgment based on the Germanic in general and perception of women. So it's got all sorts of flaws in terms of stereotyping and the like.
Yeah, out of a communication point of view, for example, might be thinking, okay, I'm an extrovert or I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert. I may come across shy, but maybe people see me when I'm sitting back and not say anything and hide in the corner as being extremely nervous. So we can have one thing in our head, but if we don't ask other people how I really come across, I won't know. I could be an extrovert and think I'm the fun person and who brings the party to life. But maybe I'm overdoing it so much that the people actually just see me as being annoying and loud. And we have to be open to people telling us that, because that makes us realize, the Johari window, what other people see and I can't see. That's exactly it for me, for being open to how people perceive me without judgment. That's the way you come across. That's for me the difference. But I want to open up to Gary and Brad.
Just before, and I know I've spoken a lot, but that I've noticed a bias for me in going to, who do I go to? Like, I get some feedback and I think, is that genuine? And who are the people that I go to? Pretty much the people in this room. And there's a bias in that because I do know a little bit about how you perceive me. So if I feel that I've been judged incorrectly and I come to my reference group who I know are really supportive and generally have a pretty good opinion of me, I know they're going to say, no, you're not like that. What I should really do is find someone independent in the sense that they know me a bit, but they're not necessarily my trusted reference group, and ask them in terms of the Johari window, because in our own ways, we sort of develop our own Johari window within the group. I know the way Erica will react about certain things. Doesn't mean I know the way she will react about all of them. So that could actually be a blind spot for both of us. Or in the window of, known to others but not known to me, I might know that she behaves in a certain way. Let's use the rigidity. And I'll think, oh, I'm not going to say that to Erica, or I won't do that because I know that will create another thing for her. But because I'm not telling her, and this isn't genuine, Erica, but if I'm not telling her that I'm not asking her to do things as a kind of filter because I know that she will jump on it, then it remains an unexplored window. And I think that's a sort of a problem, very low, very small p problem within friendship groups. Not dishonesty, but understanding where strengths and weaknesses lie, like Ari was talking about earlier. And so the known thing doesn't become brought up, you know?
I don't know that I am going to go to just anyone and ask their perception of me. Like, if almost opposite of what you said, right? Like how you know your trusted people and who to go to get like some feedback. But because we have a view of you, you're not positive that it's going to be the feedback that you're actually looking for. I will challenge that a little bit and say the deeper and more honest the relationship is, the more reliant I would be on them being willing and able to tell me the truth. Like, I'm coming to you because this is what I'm feeling and this is what I heard somewhere else. Is this how you see me? And looking for and depending on that level of honesty within the friendship to be able to speak into my life. Like, I don't know that I would go to somebody who I don't trust as much to just say, yeah, this is my perception of you. Okay. Because then I might walk away and be like, I don't really care what your perception is. Like, I don't know, but it's just something that's coming up for me. Like, and I think it's speaking more to the value that I hold and how important it is for me to have an intimate, small group of people who I actually trust to tell me the honest truth, knowing that it's coming from a place of love and in my best interest, so that I can take it the way Gabby was saying earlier, in a very open, let me hear this for the purpose that it's intended kind of way. I don't know. This is just something that's coming up.
Go on, Gary.
I think this is all assuming that we all act within a certain framework all of the time, and we don't. So different things come up in our lives. And I don't think any of you, if I asked you, you would say Gary's an arsehole, but I know that I can be. I know that I can, if somebody rubs me up the wrong way, I can be quite snappy and I can just tell them to get lost because I really don't care about them. Now, none of you would ever think that I would be like that. I don't think any of you have ever seen me like that, because we interact in a different way. But if I am interacting with a racist, then you know what? I'm not going to be quite so friendly and open and constructive in my dealings with them. And so they will come away with a completely different opinion about me. And you know what? They're right. They are absolutely right on that occasion and in that circumstance. So it depends.
What's funny is none of us here would ever think that, I'm going to be here and say, I've never experienced you to be an asshole, but I would never, ever say you couldn't be, because you're a human. We're all humans. So we've all had opportunity to act like total fucking assholes. I get it. But if I'm acting like an asshole and I know I'm acting like an asshole, I'm going to the people that I trust to say, yeah, you were acting like a bit of an asshole. This is maybe the way it was interpreted, right? I'm not going to go to whoever caused me to want to be an asshole and say, did you think I was an asshole? Because I hope you did, because that's what, you elicited from me. You know what I mean? So that's what I think all of us here have the capability to be assholes, because we're humans and we behave as such.
I'm chuckling because I know exactly what the AI is going to take out of this conversation.
Yeah, so stay tuned for the next round of whatever comments are coming my way, because I just spewed, yeah, you're an asshole and blah, 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 whatever AI is going to take as a short out of this now, because that's what happens. Whatever.
I mean, we all know that we can have moments because we are human. Of course. For me, the question always is, but how am I on a normal day? Not when somebody annoys me or... I mean, I was shouting the other day on at the table because I hit my knee and I was not, I was tired and so we all have moments. We're humans. But for me, lately, it's really the reflection of how am I generally turning up for people.
I would probably take anybody's opinion because I think I'd be able to process it on what are they in my life, right? And what role do I play in their life? So, and that's going to tell you what role you play in their life is how they perceive you, how they see you, or how you act in their eyes is going to tell you the role that you play in their life. If it's a harsh role, well, then you're that person that's judging them or keeping them in line, or right. And you got to look at the relationship with that person. Like I have people that I can tell bluntly how I feel about the way they act, and they would take it in, understand, and look to understand, right, and grow from it, rather than be like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you're just, instead of coming off with all the excuses and kind of, they would take it in and be like, wow, all right. And they would reflect back on it. Right. But then I have just the opposite. What if I said, you're acting like a real idiot right now? And they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Same excuses. They just wouldn't look at it and grow from it. So what role do you play in each person's life is how they're going to perceive you, right? And then your true friends that know you for a time and that you can have those deep conversations with, those are the ones that you can ask, hey, how do you perceive me as an individual? I wouldn't go to just anybody when I'm really looking to see who I am, but I would, in going to anybody, would just tell me who I am in their life. Right? Even when I come to the people that know me the most, they'll be able to give me more than one perception. Well, I know you to be blah, 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 and you got some of this stuff going on, and I might be able to see where your struggle is. You struggle with this piece. You come off this way, but you don't like to come off that way. They'll know a lot more about you. So there's a deeper knowing of the person, and depending upon where you are in their life. But I wouldn't discount anybody's opinion because it's just telling me my relationship to them on that deeper level. So
I would advise. Sorry, Brett.
No, go ahead.
I would advise any of our listeners to not seek this information until you're fully and actively ready to hear it. Like, you gotta be ready to hear that shit. That instant feedback is you might think you want to know because you have a perception of yourself, but you do not want to ask that. Don't ask questions you don't want answers to, basically, if you're not ready to hear how it might be different than what you think about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, on that, Erica, the question is, why are you asking? For what reason are you seeking this information? Is it self-validation, or do you really want to know? If it's self-validation, don't ask.
And you might ask because you really want to know, and then decide, yeah, I don't care. Once I get that data, it's like, okay, all right, but where do I fall in the level of urgency it is for me to shift that based on who it came from? I think is what Brett was saying also, right? Like, okay, you can tell me and I'll hear it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do anything to change that for you because I don't know that I really care too much that's how it is. But yeah, I find just don't ask if you're not ready to really take a look and sit with it.
I mean,
sorry, Brett, go on.
I was going to say, to be real about it, it's like we play different roles for different people in life, right? So they're going to have their perceptions no matter what. That's bottom line. So you might not like what they say, but that's the role that you play in that person's life. We're not aware of all the roles that we play in each individual, individual's life. It's just normal interaction. So you might be known as someone who's inspiring someone. You might be someone who's firing them up all the time and getting them all pissed off because something you do is a trigger for them, right? But maybe if they had the self-reflection opportunity, like, why does that person trigger me? They can go deeper into what it is for themselves. It's not really about that person, right? It's what they're doing that triggers you from some, something deeper, trauma, whatever it may be. So I don't know. I think it's a great view, and something that I think we all do, and everybody that we interact with holds a different piece for us all. That we're not even aware of why we're drawn to certain people, and it's not always for a positive thing. It might be for a negative thing. You don't know unless you really sit back and think about it.
It's about self-reflection, isn't it? Because sometimes we don't need to ask. Sometimes we know, and we don't want to admit the truth. I mean, if I have a person in my life I constantly have fights with, there's probably something I do which makes them getting angry with me all the time. So it is this self-reflection that, yeah, not all people are toxic. Maybe just I have a communication style which really rubs them off. Or I may offer all the time my opinion about them. And I mean, we all have experienced people say, you always make me feel that. You always do that. Maybe you should do that. Don't be so negative. Blah, 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 blah. So when we get this feedback from people, maybe it's time to actually sit back and say, am I negative all the time? And Brad actually had a really good point. We're also different in situations. I mean, I had a situation in the past where I realized that work colleague at work perceived me completely different, like my friends in comedy. Because I went out of my way after I had a fight with one of my colleagues to ask my friends in comedy, am I like this? And they're like, no, what are you talking about? And I realized I'm almost turning up like two different people in the two different situations because I didn't dismiss my colleague. I just sat back and said, there must be something about how I act, react, and behave in work which makes her think that way. That didn't come out of the blue. She didn't say that because she's a bad person. There must be something about me where I'm different in work than outside work. So I think it's the self-reflection where we lack sometimes, because it's always about the others. The others are bad. The others have bad intentions. The others are toxic. It's always the others. It's only me, isn't it?
That's a hard part to do, right? But if you're open to it, that's the special part, because then you really come to terms with who you are, and you might be very comfortable with that, depending upon who it is and what's going on.
This is really interesting because I actually thought of feedback as a topic, but didn't think it really had enough legs to sort of like run a whole conversation. But in fact, we've gone from what song would accompany us into a room to quite a deep dive into feedback, and I think it seems like if you ask, questions open doors, and just be prepared that some doors can't be closed easily again afterward. Or at least all
Too
the
much
stuff
coming out of them. Like, somebody give me a hand. I gotta shut this one.
those cartoon cupboards, everything comes out. You get Erica says, a fire hose of honesty in your face. Any closing thoughts from anybody, either whether you've actually come up with a song or anything you'd like to wrap up on feedback, perception, judgment? Brett, you're on mute. Brett's unmuted. He knows the rule.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder if you guys can hear this song. I just like this song, but for a song walking into a room, I don't know. Let's see.
Is it playing?
Yeah, you can't hear it.
What is the song?
Seven Nation Army by White.
Oh, cool song. Yeah. Why did you choose that though?
What's that?
Why? What is it about Seven Nation Army?
I don't know. I just like the sound of it. It's sort of like that. Doom, doom, doom. You know, coming. Yeah. It's just the energy of it. Something about the energy of it. Yeah.
There's a song I'm really into at the moment called Kryptonite by, I think they're Three Doors Down or something.
Yeah, it's a great song too.
I don't know what it is about that song, but it's like I don't know. It's just a really cool song. I don't know if it would be like a good song because there would be overtones of you think you're a superhero kind of thing, but the lyrics aren't about being a superhero. They're about being laid low by yours or someone else's kryptonite. Eric,
so I don't know. I feel like we just raised the surface of this whole perception judgment kind of conversation. I think that we could probably go a lot deeper in different ways around when and why are we asking for it? Like Gary said, what do I plan on doing with this information? Do I plan on doing anything with this information? And what is that? Is it okay for me to not care what people think to some degree, right? Like we all push that, don't care about what anybody thinks about you and do your thing. Yet we're over here talking about how important it is for us to hear how other people are perceiving us so we can then possibly make changes. Do we have to? What do we want to? I don't know. This conversation, I feel like, could go a lot deeper. So maybe we will jump back to this at another point. But as far as the music goes, like it was fun at the beginning, right? The thought of what song would you come into, or what song would you assign to other people is still a fun idea, and I like the idea of it. But maybe we could have a conversation at some later time about music in and of itself and why it speaks to us. Is it just the tone? Is it the words? What kind of feelings does it elicit from us, and why music is so moving and healing in general to us? I feel like we could talk about that, but yeah, those are my final comments for today.
Yeah, great one. Yeah, and who is it? Elton John, sad songs. Everybody's got a sad song, and we could share them. Gary, Gabby, closing thoughts. No, Gabby's.
Nothing in particular. Just going back to songs. Don't choose I Did It My Way. I've conducted lots of funerals. Everybody chooses I Did It My Way. If you're being cremated, don't choose Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. If you're carrying somebody who's overweight, don't come in with He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. There's a whole load of things you just got to be careful with. That's how I want to end this conversation for me.
A friend of mine, he had cancer and he knew he was dying, and he planned his entire funeral himself. And he had chosen for us to walk into the church, and he had a cremation to the song Ring of Fire. Burn, 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 Ring of Fire. And we walked in, and because we knew he had chosen the music, we were all in stitches laughing, walking into the funeral.
And there's a sense of humor for you. And that is the perfect example of what a sense of humor can do in a really, really heavy time, right? Like humor is really important.
He also, talking about feelings, and that will be an interesting other episode, he had chosen at his last song a really, really magnificent piece of classical music with the curtain closing. And we really came out and said, the little bastard, we came in laughing and we came out, everyone crying our eyes off because it was so moving, the moment. And we said, that's just him. That was just him planning this to the T. And that was his farewell to us.
I
Yeah.
mean, was the farewell the upswell of emotion, or was it the little bastard?
Both. They did that purposely because he knew he would get us, but we won't forget him. There was, you know what I mean?
Do you know? And sorry, I know we said closing thoughts, but this is another idea that's coming to me now. Is the way that information is contagious. So Gabby's told us that story. I will remember that story now and probably reference it in other conversations. And I'm sure that I have told I know I have told stories that people have repeated. And in its own way, that is a kind of continuation of that person. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think we could also have another conversation about that.
Yeah.
And if one of
And
us,
it was him. It was his personality, and we knew that. And I think we were all crying so much, even outside the church, because we realized how much we would miss him.
yeah.
You know.
Mm.
I always had
Okay.
something, the one song, Something to Remind You by Stained.
Yeah.
That song is like, I don't know, that's like a reflective kind of song. I don't know, just the lyrics in that, and I listen to it. So I don't know, that song holds something for me.
And just so nobody forgets the embarrassment of Erica and I Touch Myself, that song is by Divinals, if anybody wants to download it as a ringtone, and be inappropriate with it. Although maybe my closing thought should be, I used to have a ringtone from South Park, Shut Your Fucking Face, Uncle Fucker. And I was once working at a quite premier marina talking to the owner of this super yacht, and my phone started to ring. And he's up there, on the fly bridge of this multi-million-pound boat, asking me for professional instruction. And my phone's going, shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker. You're a cock-sucking motherfucker. And I'm like trying to stop the damn thing. I must have looked like I had some weird Tourette's thing going on. Strangely, I didn't keep the job. Right. See you later, pals.